Chapter 11. John refused to get up right away, so he rested in bed for a while. Maria would be here soon. Maybe he should call her back, tell her not to come, but she would cuss him out in Spanish if he did. He got out of bed and threw the hospital gown in the trash. After the shower, he surveyed himself in the mirror. Everything looked all right. His short dreadlocks looked pristine, his beard still looked good, and his brown skin didn't have any sores or bruises. Honestly, he looked great and flexed his muscles a little. Then the doorbell rang. The door. He had forgotten about it. He went to the living room to look out the peephole. The door was fixed. No, replaced. But when? He never sent a request to the maintenance man. "It's Maria," she said from the other side. "One sec," he said. He dashed back to his room, threw on some sweatpants and a plain t-shirt, then came back. "Hey," he welcomed her in. "Hey." She held up a bag with 2 plastic food containers. "I brought food." "Cool," he said. "Put it on the coffee table." Maria placed the food on the coffee table, and when John came over, she hugged him. Then she slapped him and hugged him again. He just looked at her, rubbing his cheek. "What was that for?" "How dare you leave the hospital without me? I was looking all over for you. At first I thought maybe another nurse had moved you or something, but I was the only person who had been in and out of your room." Who just gets up and leaves after being knocked out for 2 days? John Compton, that's who. No one saw you leave, not even security. It's like you just disappeared. All your shit was still in the hospital room. I brought all your shit, by the way. The only thing missing besides you, obviously, was your phone. We thought. John held her hands and looked into her eyes. "Maria, I'm okay," he said. "I don't have any answers for you. I don't even know how I got home." "That doesn't scare you?" she asked. "A little. I'm trying not to think about it," he said. "I feel fine, mostly. Well, besides feeling like I'm hungover." "Well, I might have a cure for that." Maria took the plastic containers out of the bag and opened them to reveal a bountiful spread of tacos and fries. There was chicken, carne asada, and carnitas. It was heaven. "You're the best," he said with a grin. "I know." After devouring the tacos and fries, Maria went over what happened while he was sleeping. She told him that the accelerator had malfunctioned and produced a massive amount of dark matter energy that exploded in a wave. The fire department found them unconscious, but they were okay once admitted to the emergency room. "That detective, what's his name?" she asked. "Doolittle," John said. "He was the first one out of the hospital as far as I know. Reeves, Mike, and I all woke up around the same time. I know they released us all a day ago." She blinked back tears, took a deep breath, and composed herself. "So, you remember nothing?" "The last thing I remember was being harassed by Doolittle. Then, next thing you know, I'm waking up in my bed in a hospital gown." "Well, I'm just glad you're okay. So you want to see what's on Netflix?" "Sure. You pick." He tossed her the remote to his flat screen. Of course, she picked the first science documentary that popped up. John noticed she was asleep before it ended, so he got up so she could lie across the couch, then grabbed the blanket off his bed and covered her. He sat on the floor and flipped through the channels until he found a news report on the explosion at Link Connections. It triggered a citywide blackout that lasted a couple hours. Several people were injured, but no deaths. "Damn," he said. John went through the other bag Maria had brought with her. He pulled out his wallet, empty as always, his clothes and the shoes he wore the day of the explosion. But what he pulled out next was perplexing. It was his keys. He looked at the door, the new door. These were the old keys. He tried them in the lock, but they didn't work. How did he get inside? He looked around his entire apartment. There were no keys to the new door. He sat back down on the floor. Maria hummed in her sleep. He thought about the man who kicked his door off the hinge and tried to kill him. The man that looked like Doolittle. Then he thought about the man who saved him. The man who looked like himself. The more he thought about it, the more he realized that it wasn't just some look-alike. Somehow, John knew that was him.